been political prisoners, from Big Bill Haywood of the IWW to Emma Goldman to the leaders of the Communist Party who were all imprisoned. Today we have prisoners still in prison from the late 60s, early 70s, victims of the FBI COINTEL program, leaders of the Black Panther Party, Leonard Peltier, leader of the American Indian Movement, Oscar Lopez Rivera, leader of the Puerto Rican independence movement. So we have a long history of political repression and political prisoners. But this period is significantly different and far more dangerous. And recently I wrote an article called Political Repression in the Age of Obama. And what I meant by that is that essentially, and you can include the Bush began on, it's part of the global war on terrorism. But what the repression has done and what the government has done is taken things that happened to people in the past, political frame-ups, spying, break-ins, black bag jobs where they break into people's homes, as the FBI did this consistently, even assassinations. You know, Fred Hampton was assassinated, other people were assassinated. But these things were done secretly. And then when they were uncovered, there was a great outcry about them, and there was congressional investigations about assassinations and about spying. And people acknowledged that this was against the Constitution, and whoever did it shouldn't have done it. Some FBI agents were actually put on trial for spying and were convicted, even though their defense was we were doing it on the basis of national security. Today, what they're doing is saying what we're doing is legal. It is constitutional. We can kill someone with a drone anywhere without judicial interference. It's up to the executive department to decide who gets killed, on what basis. It's secret, and we don't have to tell anybody about it. And the Attorney General of the United States was just here in Chicago speaking at my law school saying that this is due process. You can kill anybody even if they're not on a battlefield secretly, and that's due process. It's due process within the executive department. They're saying that you can now, there's the National Defense Authorization Act, which was just passed by Congress that Obama signed, that you can detain people without trial. You can keep people indefinitely without trial. Now they're saying people who are whistleblowers are guilty of espionage. You're violating the law, so you can do that under the law. So we have, and the Patriot Act allows for secret black bag jobs. People can break into your home. They can copy your legal papers and secretly leave. There's all this surveillance, electronic surveillance going on. They claim that they're getting warrants, but we know they're not really getting warrants. And even if they are getting warrants, they're getting them from these courts that don't care. They're just following what the executive wants. And in fact, you can't even go to court now and sue if you're tortured. They're saying it's secret, it's confidential, what we did, how we tortured people. There's a thing called the State Secrecy Act, which protects the government from suing the FBI or any agency of government who carry out violations because they're doing it in secret, because it's classified information. So now they can kill you, they can spy on you, they can torture you, and the courts have gone along with it. It's all part of the global war on terrorism, which is unending, which gives the executive unlimited power to violate the Constitution, and which Obama is picked up the ball and ran further with it than Bush ever ran further with it. He's killed more people with drones. They're spying on more people. And now what we have is what's called the Material Support for Terrorism Law, which was actually passed in 1996 under Clinton. And what it does is it creates a list of organizations which they accuse of being terrorist organizations. You get on this list, you can never get off of it. I represent a man who's the only American citizen that's on this list. His name is Mohammed Salah. He's a Palestinian man from Chicago area. He's been on this list for 16 years. on trial saying he was a leader of Hamas. He was acquitted by the jury. The jury rejected any terrorism charge. He's still on the list. That means he can't have a job. He can't go out and buy anything without a license from the government. He can't get groceries. He can't get medical care. Everything he does that entails money, he needs a license from OFAC, which is the Office of Foreign Asset Control. What they do is they create these lists of terrorist groups, and they're always groups that oppose U.S. government policy. You know that the Israeli Defense Force is not on this list, right? The settlers who are getting thousands and millions of dollars from rich Jewish people in this country are not on the list, okay? So they put an organization on this list, and then the law says that if you provide any type of support for that organization, then you can go to jail for 15 years. So now,
sorry, brother, I don't want to interrupt, but if the owner of a Toyota Highlander that's parked in this parking lot over here, it's blocking the U-Haul, the building manager said he's going to tow it within 5 minutes.
thank you. So it says if you provide any type of support or any type of training. Well, if you look at the statute, it's about, providing guns, weapons, safe houses, if you're working closely with a terrorist group. And all of a sudden, the government starts saying, well, no, if you give people money, if you give an organization that's doing charitable work, like a hospital or for orphans, if that money somehow is connected with a terrorist group, then that could be, in fact, giving aid to terrorism, providing material support. If you give a lecture to a group, that somebody in that group that belongs to the terrorist group, you're providing them with expertise. And it's been fought in the courts for years about how broad this can be. And in fact, 4 out of the 5 main organizations that are fighting the occupation of of the Palestinian lands are on that group. And they're saying that not only if you give that directly to that group, but if you give it to a group that's related to the group on the trial, on the list, then you can be prosecuted. And in fact, there are many Palestinians, a group of very distinguished Palestinians were part of a group called the Holy Land Fund. And they were accused of giving charity and building hospitals, and somehow these hospitals had the support of Hamas, which is on the list. And they didn't prove these people had anything to do with Hamas, other than their charities had some overlap with Hamas. 4 of them are in prison today, serving over 25 years. Over 25 years in prison. So, here's why I'm talking about Obama. This is a good example. There's a case now that was decided by the Supreme Court in 2010. It's called Holder versus the Humanitarian Law Project. Why is it called Holder? Because there was a favorable decision in the 9th Circuit, which is the second highest court, which said if you provide First Amendment support for a group or related to a group that's on the list, you can't be prosecuted. So if you write an op-ed article in support of a group, it's First Amendment. If you hold a rally in support of a group, it's First Amendment protected. If you help a group that's involved, as Jimmy Carter did in Lebanon, when Hezbollah was running, that's First Amendment activity. So that was a very narrowing opinion of this law. Well, Holder appealed that opinion to the Supreme Court. And that's when we get Holder versus Humanitarian Law Project. And basically they're saying the First Amendment doesn't protect you. If you're involved in First Amendment activity, if it provides any type of support for one of these groups, you can be prosecuted and put in jail for 15 years. So, and there's a series of other cases that the Obama administration has brought to the Supreme Court. You may have read now you can be strip searched if you're arrested. That was brought to the Supreme Court and supported by the Obama administration. There's a recent Supreme Court case which says that you can be arrested on what's called a material witness warrant if they believe you're a material witness and are going to flee, and they can hold you indefinitely. That was brought to the Supreme Court by the Obama administration. So now we have many people are now serving time for providing material support to terrorist groups. Just recently, there's a man, a pharmacist, a PhD from Boston. His name is Tarek Mahana. He translated a document from the internet about 39 ways of jihad, which many of the ways were just, First Amendment ways. He had no contact with any terrorist group. They're saying that he provided material support and was convicted and sentenced to 17 years in the last few months. They're calling people who are truth tellers, like Bradley Manning and others, as guilty of espionage, and they're charging them. They're charging a CIA agent who told a newspaper man about torture, that told people about torture, and they're charging him with espionage. You cannot go to court and sue these people for torture, but they're going to court and prosecuting this guy for telling a newspaper man about torture. That's Obama. And now there's nothing said by the Democrats about all this. When Bush was doing it, all the Democrats were up in arms, right? What Democrat has spoken out about the drones or the espionage stuff? No one. What we have now is bipartisan legalization of repression. Both parties are behind it. It's being institutionalized. It's being said that this is how we interpret the Constitution now. The executive has all power. The war on terror goes on. The executive can do anything. They can detain you. They can kill you. They can spy on you. And it's all okay. Now, I want to just point out what comes of this. During the McCarthy period, there was a struggle against these investigative committees that were bringing people in and trying to get them to talk and go to jail. And a case was brought to the Supreme Court, which said you have a Fifth Amendment right not to have to talk about anything, not only about yourself, but about your organization, about your neighbors. Your Fifth Amendment right gives you the right to be silent. Well, the Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, said no. We are taking away your Fifth Amendment right. It only protects what you say for you. Therefore, you can be called to a grand jury, which is a secret proceeding, and they can ask you about your family, your work, what meetings you've gone to, what you do every day, and every question has to be answered or you go to jail. You don't get a trial. It's civil contempt, which means they can hold you to the life of the grand jury. And there's even a thing called criminal contempt, which if you don't answer the questions, they can send you to prison. There's no limit up to life in prison. I have a client now, Abdul Halim Ashgar, ran for president of PA in Palestine. They brought him to a grand jury in New York. He refused to testify. They locked him up for 6 months. He went on a hunger strike. They finally let him out. He was out, ready to go back, and they subpoenaed him to Chicago. They put him, again he refused to testify, he went to jail, and then when he was about to get out, they indicted him for criminal contempt. And the issue is whether he testified or not. There's really no defense to it. He's doing 11 years in prison for taking the act of civil disobedience and refusing to testify in a grand jury. And Samuel Arian is under home detention because he pled in Florida, and the deal was he would be allowed to go back to his country. And as soon as he got out, they subpoenaed him to a grand jury in Virginia, and he's refused to testify, and he's awaiting his trial. So that decision, 5-4, in the 1950s, since then, hundreds of political activists have been imprisoned, interned, without trial, without specific charge for refusing to testify in a grand jury. What I'm telling you is that these Supreme Court decisions, Holder and others, are going to reap the devil against the movements for the next years to come, because they are going to be able to intern and imprison people who carry out First Amendment activity because they're going to say somehow they're supporting the war on terror, and they're supporting these terrorist groups, and therefore they're going to use that like they've used the grand jury power to intern people for the last 40 years. So what we need to do is be clear that we do not have an ally in the President of the United States when it comes to civil liberties. We need to build an independent movement that takes up this issue of civil liberties, fights repression, fights for political prisoners, and build an independent movement, because otherwise we're going down the tubes with this repression, because they're justifying it as legal, and there's no court that's going to go against them. The courts are totally in their pocket. The Supreme Court, even now, we're talking about 5-4 on most of these decisions, and even 6-3 on Holder. So it's time to build the independent